What's going on, guys? Just wanted to fire up the camera and talk about a new product that I'm currently offering on the website. This is going to be a clip adapter set meant to be used with my two larger models of screwdriver sheaths, namely the Klein 11-in-1 multi-bit screwdriver sheath or the Klein 7-in-1 flip socket screwdriver sheath. Now, that's not to say it won't work with other sheath models on my website. It could potentially also be used with the plier sheath. And it will likely work with some future models of sheaths and accessories that I'll be coming out at a later time. But right now, these are mainly intended as replacements or adapters for these two models. Now, what this is, it's basically just a different style of clip that's meant to be used instead of the original included locking clips. These are kind of a tech lock style locking clip that open and lock closed onto your belt. This is going to be a spring clip style of clip that some people might find a little bit easier to place on or remove from their belt, or to clip onto the sides of tool bags or other things. And we'll make that a little bit more clear as we go. But before we get started, I do want to mention one thing. I have, since I started making these, gone through a couple different iterations of hardware styles and sizes. Namely, I was using some metric size screws and binding post nuts and that sort of thing. I've since standardized to an SAE size screw or a standard size screw. And just to let you know, just in case you guys ever need to replace any of these, I do plan on eventually offering a spare or a replacement hardware kit or set on the website. But basically, both of these sheaths are now using this Phillips truss head screw. It's got a 5/8 of an inch long thread. It's an 8-32 size screw, or basically a number 8 screw with 32 threads per inch. And then it's accompanying Chicago nut or binding post nut. These are a little bit beefier than ones I've used in the past, and they've also got a nice slot for a flathead screwdriver to kind of help tighten these together. And then I've also standardized the length and type of spacer that I'm using for both of these. Originally, I was using a 5/16 long spacer for the 11-in-1 sheath and a 3/8 long spacer for the 7-in-1 sheath. I've since decided to just go ahead and go to the longer size for both, so 3/8 for either. This is 3/8 of an inch long. It's black nylon. These are available on McMaster-Carr, but again, I'm going to start offering replacement sets, I do believe, at a later date. But they've got a 1/4 inch diameter through hole in the middle, and then they're 1/2 inch diameter on the outside. So that's just a quick note on that. Now, as far as the clip adapter set, what's going to be included with that? We'll just go ahead and open this up. This is basically what it'll look like when it comes to you. It's going to come with two different options for the clip adapters. You're going to have a short adapter as well as a longer adapter. This is basically just a 1-to-1 replacement for these clips here. So it'll basically position the sheath and your screwdriver in the exact same position as it already was with the original clip. But then I'm also including a longer adapter, which will basically drop the sheath down or raise the clip up in order to let that sit a little bit lower on your belt or on your hip, as some people find that a little bit more comfortable. Now, because of the clearances and the shapes of the sheath, you do need to use a slightly longer spacer in order to use this adapter. So I am including those as well. These are 1/2 inch long spacers, basically the exact same as these. They're just, an 1/8 of an inch longer or so. And then in order to use those, you do need some longer screws. So instead of a 5/8 long thread, these have a 3/4 inch long thread, 8/32 screws or 8-32. And then I'm also including 4 additional binding nuts or Chicago nuts, just in case you have an older model sheath that uses some slightly different hardware. These will still work with that. Now, with that being said, these adapters are really meant to be used with your existing hardware that already came with the sheath. So you can use the same screws and spacers. But again, if you need to use this longer adapter, you do need those longer spacers and longer screws. So that's been accounted for as well. And then lastly, the clip itself comes with, along with the included hardware, Now this is going to be a slightly, different screw and nut and spacers and whatnot. That's just what comes with the clips as I buy them from the manufacturer or the supplier. So just make sure as you're putting all this together, you have everything laid out. Just try not to mix up this hardware because it may not fit, the other nuts and screws and spacers and such. So keep that in mind. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. Now, first things first, we're just going to remove our clip. Let's go ahead and swap out the 11-in-1 clip with a short adapter. Show you how that goes together. Now, you can use a hand driver. You don't need to use a drill. I'm just trying to keep the video as short as I can. But you're going to want to open up that clip. Press your finger against the nut on the back. Just reverse those out one at a time. One other thing I'll note, I do not include any Loctite on any of the fasteners. Unfortunately, it's just not feasible for me to apply Loctite to hundreds and hundreds of screws. As I'm only one guy, I do encourage anybody, though, to go ahead and add your own Loctite when you get my product. Just go ahead and take the screws out, put a little bit of blue Loctite, or even a dab of super glue would work. Assemble everything tightly back together. And that'll help prevent you from losing any of this in the first place. But again, I am going to be offering replacement packs at some later date. So just keep an eye out for that. Now, if I don't have them on the website and you do need a replacement spacer or a screw or a nut or something, just reach out to me, RileyKnifeandTool.com. We'll work something out. Or message me through my website or one of my socials, and we'll get you taken care of. But now we've got the clip off. You just close that back up, set it aside, stick it in a drawer or somewhere for safekeeping. And now let's go ahead and grab our short adapter plate. Now, as far as which side's which, which side you're going to put the clip on or which way it's going to be turned, that's really not important. There is a rough side, there is a smooth side. I typically put the clip on the rough side, but you can put it on the smooth if you prefer. It really doesn't make a difference. The only thing you really need to keep in mind is this little groove here. It does need to go towards the top of the sheath in order to give some clearance to where the handle fits into the sheath. So just bear that in mind. There is a right side up on these. Now, as far as these two center screws are concerned, that's for another style of clip option that I may offer in the future. I just decided to go ahead and add those holes, to give a little bit of an extra option on a future date. So you can keep an eye out for that. I'll update accordingly, but you can ignore these for now. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to use the hardware that came with the sheath. And we're going to stick those into the four corner holes. And stick these binding post nuts in like so. And these will go in from the side that you're going to install the clip on. And just to make things a little bit easier on ourselves, this is a pretty snug fit for these screws. But I do like to add a little piece of Scotch tape or masking tape, just to kind of help them keep from falling out as we're turning this over. That'll make it a little bit easier on us in the future here. Now we're going to take our clip and its hardware. Going to try to keep it separate from the other stuff. And including with this, you've got some grommets or some finishing washers. You've got some rubber spacers, a couple of Phillips head screws, and your binding nuts. So we're going to flip this over and insert these nuts here, like so. And we're just going to hold those in with our fingers while we put the spacers on. These are the rubber spacers. Then we're going to place the clip over them. If you want, you could put these finishing washers on the screws first. We're just going to get those started. You don't want to go crazy, but just snug it down a little bit. And because of these rubber spacers, this does have kind of an adjustable tension on it as well, which is nice. So now we've got our clip installed. We've got our binding post for the sheath. We're going to take our original spacers that came with the sheath and just stick them over the binding post nuts like so. We're going to put the sheath, preferably with the Riley out, so you remember who made it for you. Now we're just going to start these screws in by a couple of threads. Get ready to take our tape off. Just snug those up a little bit. Take the tape out. I do have a little bit of piece of tape left in there. That's no big deal. We just loosen that up a little bit and pull that out. Like so. And that's basically our clip swap. So that's ready to clip on a belt. You can clip to the side of a tool bag or wherever. And it's just one different option of carry for you. So same way with the larger, it'll pretty much fit on the same way, same hardware. But now let's remove this sheath, or this clip rather, from the sheath, and I'll show you how the longer adapter goes. Again, if you're putting the short adapter on, either this sheath or the other, you just use this existing hardware that already came with the sheath. But if using the longer adapter, you do need to use the included hardware that comes with the kit. Again, rough side, smooth side, really doesn't matter. We'll just insert them into the rough side. Now, because the clip's way up here, you don't have to use the tape if you don't want to. We'll put these slightly longer spacers over the binding post the same way. Try not to drop one like I just did. And then again, we'll just lay the sheath right on top of that, put a little pressure against it, and just start each of these longer screws in by a thread or two. And again, it is recommended to use the 3/4 inch long screws. I think 5/8, the ones that come with, will possibly work, but you're only going to get like a thread in, so these will give you a few more threads to play with. And again, we'll just snug this up a little. Don't go crazy. And you can kind of see why you need the longer spacers, just because of the larger diameter of where the handle goes in right there. And then I don't have an extra clip, you know, in the pack here, but it would go on just like this one as before. Nuts, screws, finishing washers on this side, and then you're ready to clip that guy right under your belt. And so that's the long clip. So that's pretty much it, guys. Now I will go ahead and run you through how to replace the original clips. There is a little trick on how I normally do it. If you still have the belt spacers installed, and I'll show you what those are in a moment. So we're going to set those aside. So these are the belt spacers that come with the clips. And the easy way to reinstall these, just put in your binding post nuts on each corner. Now when you close this, those spacers actually hold those in from falling out. And you can just put your spacers back on. Lay your sheath over that with your locking button down, preferably. And again, just start a couple threads in. Now these don't always draw up without some additional pressure from the back. So once I get these started, I'll just open this back up and put a finger on each screw, or a finger on each nut as I tighten the screw up. And if it does kind of bind on you and doesn't want to go in all the way, that's where that slot on the back is really handy. You just set your drill on the table, and it'll kind of help hold it for you. And then with a second screwdriver, just kind of tighten that in and get those really nice and tight. And again, I do recommend that you get some blue Loctite to add onto these. Sometimes the spacers stick out a little bit too. You can just loosen that up, push them flush, then tighten that back up. So that's it, guys, a basic clip swap with the now available clip adapters that are on the site. Again, I don't yet, as of the uploading of this video, have the additional hardware sets worked out just yet. That is something I do plan to offer in the very near future. If I don't have it on the site and you need it, by all means, feel free to message me. We'll work something out. But I hope that helps, guys. Thanks again for all your support. Go to RileyKnifeandTool.com for the sheaths and accessories. I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you on the next one.